Paxlovid. On the heels of Merck antiviral molnupiravir UK approval, Pfizer has come out with its own COVID-19 pill, Paxlovid, on the market. Merck's molnupiravir, the first approved pill for COVID-19, was touted as a potential game-changer. Studies have found that it reduced hospitalization and mortality risk by around 50%. The dramatic risk reduction reported by Pfizer indicates its pill could prove a valuable weapon in government's armory against the pandemic. In addition to being potentially more effective, Paxlovid may encounter less safety questions than its rival antiviral. Some experts have expressed concerns that molnupiravir's mechanism of action against COVID-19. It mimics RNA molecules to induce viral mutations could also introduce harmful mutations within human DNA. Paxlovid, a different type of antiviral known as a protease inhibitor, has shown no signs of mutagenic DNA interactions, Pfizer has said. Both Pfizer and Merck's pills are most beneficial when administered within 5 days of symptom onset. Still, not all antiviral efforts have been successful. A COVID-19 antiviral pill jointly developed by Roche and Atea Pharmaceuticals recently failed to meet its primary endpoint in a Phase 2 trial. Atea has since announced the strategic partnership between the two companies will be terminated. It's not just antivirals that hold promise for the treatment of COVID-19. Drug makers are also investigating monoclonal antibodies, which bind to specific antigens and instruct the immune system to destroy the virus. Monoclonal antibody therapies from Eli Lilly, Regeneron and GlaxoSmithKline have been granted U.S. regulatory authorization for the treatment of COVID-19. However, the FDA revoked Lilly's authorization for the monotherapy use of bamlanivimab, one of the antibodies in the cocktail with etesevimab. It was found to be ineffective against emerging SARS-CoV-2 variants. All three companies' antibody treatments have demonstrated good efficacy, but they require a one-time intravenous administration. Antiviral pills, which can be taken at home, are significantly more convenient. In the early days of the pandemic, all eyes were on potential vaccines. In May 2020, the U.S. announced Operation Warp Speed, a plan to spend billions on vaccine development. But mostly out of sight of the news media, quieter efforts to custom-design a COVID-19 pill were moving forward with similar urgency and hope. Chemists at Pfizer's research facility in Connecticut dusted off some ideas the company had developed during the SARS outbreak in 2003. It was to block a component of the virus life cycle involving a key protease, a protein that orchestrates how the virus copies itself. SARS-CoV-2 causes illness by injecting a cell with genetic material that gets the cell to copy the proteins needed to manufacture even more virus copies. As it turns out, a number of those viral proteins are generated as one long piece. Think of a chain of connected sausage links. The job of the protease chemists were targeting is to cut this big polyprotein into working parts, something it does using a special molecular notch. The researchers knew if they could stuff that opening with a chemical that sticks to it very strongly, so strongly it can't be detached, the protease wouldn't do its job and the virus wouldn't multiply. Protease inhibitor. To create a protease inhibitor, it's like milling a key to fit a lock. You want a drug that fits in that pocket perfectly and makes it unavailable. By mid-2020, chemists were tossing out proposals for chemical shapes that might work. But making and testing chemicals in a hurry is where the limitless R&D funds of big companies come into play. Pfizer was able to synthesize 800 molecules in all, according to the company. After identifying the most promising ones, in September 2020, the company moved quickly. At that point, a company would normally invest in small production amounts for testing. But Pfizer wanted enough drug on hand to start a human study right away if it worked in animals. It took the gamble of speeding up production. It was to find a chemical that is able to stick tightly enough to that protein. It would stop the virus from replicating in the body. That would lessen the chances that a patient would become seriously ill. Right away, researchers got a lucky break. It was found that none of the thousands of proteins in the human body shared the same bit of molecular structure they planned to interfere with in SARS-CoV-2. That meant they could hit the virus hard and not expect any major side effects. Pfizer sped the drug forward by testing hundreds of chemicals in parallel and then making big batches of the most promising one. Even as the first COVID vaccines were authorized in the US in December 2020, animal studies were underway on the drug that would later be named Paxlovid. Human trials began in March 2021. By the fall of 2021, Pfizer was ready to declare success. A monitoring board decided to stop the human study because COVID-19 patients on Paxlovid weren't dying, but those given the dummy drug were. "It was an incredible moment," says Charlotte Allerton, Pfizer's head of medicine design. A test in unvaccinated volunteers done by Pfizer had shown that the new pill cut the chance of a serious case of COVID by 89%. Crucially, the protease is a highly conserved molecule. That means that even as the virus evolves, this part rarely changes. The coronavirus has been mutating quickly to evade vaccines. It looks as though Paxlovid will work just as well against any variant, whether it is Omicron or whatever comes next. In fact, laboratory tests run suggest Paxlovid will work against all coronaviruses, maybe even one still lurking in a bat cave somewhere. If so, it means the company has hit on a potential defense against the next outbreak, too. On December 22, 2022, U.S. Food and Drug Administration issued an emergency use authorization, EUA, for Pfizer's Paxlovid. The issuance of a EUA is different than an FDA approval. FDA has reviewed the totality of the scientific evidence available. The agency has determined that it is reasonable to believe that Paxlovid may be effective for the treatment of mild to moderate COVID-19 in authorized patients. It is for the treatment of mild to moderate coronavirus disease, COVID-19, in adults. It has to be used in pediatric patients of 12 years of age and older weighing at least 40 kilograms or about 88 pounds. It is meant for those with positive results of direct SARS-CoV-2 testing, and for those who are at high risk for progression to severe COVID-19, including hospitalization or death. It is the first treatment for COVID-19 that is in the form of a pill that is taken orally. Paxlovid is not authorized for the pre-exposure or post-exposure prevention of COVID-19. It is not an initiation of treatment in those requiring hospitalization due to severe or critical COVID-19. Paxlovid is not a substitute for vaccination in individuals for whom COVID-19 vaccination and a booster dose are recommended. Pfizer's oral drug is a combination therapy of nirmatrelvir and ritonavir. Paxlovid consists of nirmatrelvir, which inhibits a SARS-CoV-2 protein to stop the virus from replicating. It also contains ritonavir, which slows down nirmatrelvir's breakdown to help it remain in the body for a longer period at higher concentrations. Paxlovid is administered as 3 tablets, 2 tablets of nirmatrelvir and 1 tablet of ritonavir. They have to be taken together orally twice daily for 5 days, for a total of 30 tablets. Paxlovid is not authorized for use for longer than 5 consecutive days. The drug, developed by Pfizer, has a lot of positives. It had an 89% reduction in the risk of hospitalization and death in unvaccinated people in the clinical trials. Studies outside of the laboratory have since confirmed Paxlovid's effectiveness among people who have been vaccinated. It's cheaper than many other COVID-19 drugs. It's provided for free by the U.S. government while there is a public health emergency. It is expected to work against the Omicron variant too. It's considered as our first efficacious oral antiviral pill for this virus. It is reported to have shown clear benefit, and it can prevent hospitalization and death in people who are at high risk. And some medical researchers suspect Pfizer's spectacular test results could be too rosy. The human trial that led to its authorization was relatively small, involving about 2,000 people. It means that the true effectiveness of the drug could turn out to be less stellar in the real world. Another drawback is that Paxlovid should be given within 5 days of the start of symptoms. Pfizer's own internal models identify that as a challenge. An August 2021 study in the Annals of Emergency Medicine found that, on average, people have symptoms for 5 or 6 days before they turn up at a hospital. Serious cases. By that time, those with serious cases are gasping for air and face deadly lung problems. Due not to the virus, but to their body's immune reaction against it. At that point, the pill can't help. That raises questions about whether Paxlovid will actually ease the pandemic. Even when patients are not that sick, there's often a time lag while their infection is confirmed. For this reason, Pfizer has floated the idea of offering the drug to people while they wait for test results. 1. How does Paxlovid work? Paxlovid is an antiviral therapy that consists of 2 separate medications packaged together. When you take your 3-pill dose, 2 of those pills will be nirmatrelvir. Nirmatrelvir inhibits a key enzyme that the COVID virus requires in order to make functional virus particles. After nirmatrelvir treatment, the COVID virus that is released from the cells is no longer able to enter uninfected cells in the body, which, in turn, stops the infection. The other is ritonavir, a drug that was once used to treat HIV or AIDS but is now used to boost levels of antiviral medicines. As a COVID-19 treatment, ritonavir essentially shuts down nirmatrelvir's metabolism in the liver. Therefore, it doesn't move out of your body as quickly. It means that it can work longer, giving it a boost to help fight the infection. 2. When should I take Paxlovid? You have to take Paxlovid within 5 days of developing symptoms. Like all antivirals, Paxlovid works best early in the course of an illness, in this case, within the first 5 days of symptom onset. Once you've been ill with the virus for more than a week, the damage done to the body in a severe case can't be undone by the antiviral. 3. How often do I take Paxlovid? You take 3 Paxlovid pills twice daily for 5 days for a full course that adds up to 30 pills. 4. Can anyone get a Paxlovid prescription? The FDA has authorized Paxlovid for people ages 12 and older who weigh at least 88 pounds. But in order to qualify for a prescription, you must also have had a positive COVID-19 test result and be at high risk for developing severe COVID-19. That means you must either have certain underlying conditions. It includes cancer, diabetes, obesity, or others. You should be 65 or older, as more than 81% of COVID-19 deaths occur in this group. The more underlying medical conditions a person has, the higher their risk for developing a severe case of COVID-19, according to the CDC. The hope is that the restrictions on who can take Paxlovid will be relaxed over time. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, the FDA recommends discussing your options with your doctor, since there is no experience using the drug in these populations. Pregnancy. If you could become pregnant, it's recommended that you use effective barrier contraception or do not have sexual activity while taking Paxlovid. 5. How well does Paxlovid work? In November 2022, the CDC reported on a real-world study. It showed that adults who took Paxlovid within 5 days of a COVID-19 diagnosis had a 51% lower hospitalization rate within the next 30 days than those who were not given the drug. The study included people who had been vaccinated or had a previous infection. The CDC said that it implied the drug should be offered to people who are eligible regardless of their vaccination status. When it applied for FDA authorization, Pfizer presented data from a clinical trial conducted between mid-July and early December in 2021. The data showed that participants, all of whom were unvaccinated, were given Paxlovid. They were 89% less likely to develop severe illness and death compared to trial participants who received a placebo. While the recommendation is to take Paxlovid within 5 days of symptom onset, participants in the clinical trial took the drug within 3 days. 6. What do we know about how Paxlovid works in kids? Pfizer launched a clinical trial in March to study the safety and efficacy of Paxlovid in children and teenagers ages 6 to 17. These children have had COVID-19 symptoms and tested positive for the virus. They were neither hospitalized nor at risk for severe disease. While Paxlovid is authorized for use in adolescents and teenagers ages 12 and up, and weighing at least 88 pounds, that age group wasn't tested in the original clinical trial. But because many children reach 88 pounds, considered to be an adult weight, the FDA has allowed extensions of use for medications such as monoclonal antibodies and remdesivir in younger age groups. Based on the pharmacokinetics of the drugs in Paxlovid, the differences in metabolism and excretion, liver and kidney function specifically, of these drugs in this age group are thought to be similar to that of adults. 7. Does Paxlovid work against Omicron? Paxlovid's clinical trials took place before Omicron and later subvariants like BA.5 became predominant. But Pfizer says that the drug works against the highly contagious variant. 3 laboratory-based studies claim to back this up. 2 of those studies were conducted by Pfizer. The third one was done by Pfizer in partnership with the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. These studies have not yet been published in peer-reviewed medical journals. 8. What are the side effects from Paxlovid? Most people who take Paxlovid should not experience serious side effects. Side effects. Paxlovid is usually very well tolerated, according to Pfizer. But people should stop taking Paxlovid and call a healthcare provider right away if they experience any of the following signs of an allergic reaction: hives, trouble swallowing or breathing, swelling of the mouth, lips, or face, throat tightness, hoarseness, skin rash. Other possible side effects include an altered or impaired sense of taste, diarrhea, increased blood pressure, muscle aches, abdominal pain, nausea, feeling generally unwell. Since Paxlovid is cleared by the kidneys, dose adjustments may be required for patients with mild to moderate kidney disease. For patients with severe kidney disease, or who are on dialysis, or those with severe liver disease, Paxlovid is not recommended. The levels of the drug can become too high and could cause increased side effects. The FDA says that anyone who takes Paxlovid should contact their doctor right away if they have any signs and symptoms of liver problems: loss of appetite, yellowing of the skin and whites of the eyes, jaundice, dark-colored urine, pale-colored stools and itchy skin, or stomach area, abdominal pain. It's worth noting that because Paxlovid is still being monitored in the real world, it is possible that all of the risks are not yet known. The FDA has provided a fact sheet on Paxlovid with a full list of known side effects. 9. Can I take Paxlovid if I'm taking other medications? There is a long list of medications Paxlovid may interact with. In some cases, doctors may not prescribe Paxlovid because these interactions may cause serious complications. The list of drugs that Paxlovid interacts with includes some organ anti-rejection drugs that transplant patients take. There are also some more common drugs, the ones used to treat heart arrhythmias. Paxlovid also decreases the metabolism of anticoagulants, or blood thinners, that many older adults depend on, driving up levels of those medications in the body to a point where they are unsafe. It also interacts with cholesterol-lowering medications like Lipitor, but that's less challenging for patients to overcome. If you stop taking your Lipitor for 5 days, nothing bad is going to happen. 10. What is the rebound effect of Paxlovid? There have been reports of a rebound of COVID-19 symptoms in some people within 2 to 8 days after completing the 5-day course of Paxlovid. In those cases, some have tested positive again but have no symptoms, others have a recurrence of symptoms. Pfizer had said that in the clinical trial for Paxlovid, several participants appeared to have a rebound in virus levels. But this has also occurred in some people who were given a placebo. Rebound. Scientists are still studying the Paxlovid rebound. The CDC says a rebound does not mean a person was resistant to Paxlovid, nor does it mean they were reinfected with the virus. In June, the CDC released guidance for clinicians, saying a brief return of symptoms may be part of the natural history of SARS-CoV-2 infection in some people, independent of treatment with Paxlovid, adding that there is no evidence that additional treatment is needed. A CDC study reported that rebound symptoms tended to be unlikely to require hospitalization and milder than symptoms experienced during the primary infection. The hypothesis is that the immune system didn't have a chance to see the full extent of the virus, since Paxlovid suppressed replication early in disease. Scientists are studying the effects of longer treatment durations, longer periods of isolation, and other ways of managing the problem. For anyone who experiences a rebound, the CDC advises people restart isolation for 5 days, following its isolation guidance. Pfizer recommends reporting it to them on its portal for adverse events associated with Paxlovid. 11. Do I still need to be up to date on vaccination if Paxlovid is available? Vaccination, testing, and mitigation efforts such as masking, remain a key part of prevention, even as more drugs become available. Early testing is key to making these drugs work. People also should remember that Paxlovid, even with its high efficacy, is not perfect. The viruses can mutate and develop resistance to antiviral medications. Will some people still be hospitalized? Yes, no medication is perfect. But for many high-risk patients, this medication can really reduce that risk. If you are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and think you are eligible for a treatment, you can visit the government Test to Treat centers.